Michael Snyder, thanks for joining me today. It's great to have you.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Michael. Thank you for having us out here.
Hey, we're out in Central Texas, a place of incredible freedom and abundance. The state is doing amazingly well under the Trump administration, but many parts of America are in a state of collapse. How would you, if you go to Washington and the voters in Idaho elect you, how would you help make all of America abundant, more like the way Texas is?
Yeah, well, in Idaho, we have a similar thing where some areas of the state, like Boise, are doing really great, but other areas, some of the rural areas, unemployment's still very high. It's kind of like almost those flyover parts of the country they talk about, the Democrats talk about, that aren't doing so well. And so, you know what? We need to get back to free markets, and that means we want to reduce taxes as much as possible. In fact, I'm like Ron Paul. I want to abolish the income tax. I want to abolish the Federal Reserve. And people say, oh, Michael, you know what? If we did that, wouldn't it be a disaster? No. If you go back between 1872 and 1913, we didn't have an income tax. We didn't have a central bank. It was the greatest period of economic growth in all of U.S. history. But we need to empower people just to live their lives. I mean, in Idaho, wherever I go in the rural areas, ranchers will come up to me, and we're on a ranch today. We've got cows here today. People come up to me and say, Mike, in fact, the very first person who pulled me aside after I announced my candidacy last July 4th was a rancher. He pulled me aside. He said, I can barely run my cattle operation because of interference from the federal government. He said, can you do anything? I said, not right now, but if I get elected, I'll do whatever I can to help you out.
Right.
But he just wants the government off his back. And that's the theme I've been hearing, whether I've been talking to miners, where I've been talking to small business people, wherever I've traveled. All throughout Idaho's first congressional district, this is the theme I'm getting.
So you don't think that the people are too stupid to live their own lives? You don't think the government has to tell everybody what to think, what to do, how to run their business, what words to use, how big of a big gulp they can drink, and all those things? Sounds like you believe in the American people.
Yeah, and I believe in freedom, and free markets work if you take the shackles off. So our founding fathers believed in free markets. They believed in freedom. That's why they wanted a very, very limited federal government, because they wanted liberty and freedom to be maximized. Because whenever you have more government, whenever you have more laws, rules, regulations, government agencies, it restricts our liberties and freedoms in some way. And so today, what have we got? The United States government is the biggest government in the history of mankind. And so totally opposite of what our founding fathers intended. So we need to swing that pendulum back to a very, very limited federal government. So my job in going to D.C., and I'm not just there for the people of Idaho, I'm there for everyone that loves liberty and freedom, because we need to get liberty-loving people to Washington to represent what we believe. But my job is to reduce the size and scope and power of the federal government as much as I possibly can to give you more liberty and freedom, because there's an inverse relationship between the size of government and liberty and freedom.
Right.
And so if we reduce government, your liberties and freedoms are going to increase. And it's a very simple argument, because nobody out there is going to say, oh, I'm against freedom, I'm against liberty. Of course, everyone wants more freedom and more liberty, but in order to do that, we've got to reduce government in order to have that. And that's my job, and that's what I intend to do.
Okay, one more question for you, Michael Snyder, and your website is michaelsnyderforcongress.com, by the way, for those who want to learn more about you. How do we know, we the people voting for you in Idaho, how do we know that you're not going to go to Washington and become the swamp?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good question. But at the end of the day, because you know what? All politicians come around during election season and tell you what you want to hear. In fact, in Idaho, I've had several of the other candidates have copied my message and are starting to use the exact same terminology that I am, because they saw it was working. And so now they're running television commercials literally using the exact same phrases I was using.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, because they know it was working. But literally look at my track record, because when I wasn't running for anything over the last 7 years, you can go back and I've published more than 3,000 articles totaling more than 3 million words. And most of those articles have been republished on Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, literally dozens of other conservative and patriot websites all over the country, where on my websites alone, my articles have been viewed more than 100 million times. And then on all those other websites, far more than that.
Yeah, one of your main sites is the economiccollapseblog.com.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So people can check that out.
So who I am, you can go back and look over the last 7 years, more than 3,000 articles and countless interviews on radio and television. I've traveled all over the country. So who I am is out there for everybody to see, and who I am today, what I'm telling you right now, is the exact same person, and what I've been fighting for the last 7 years all over the country and in all of my articles. That what I've said then is exactly what I'm saying now. So I haven't changed to tickle your ears. I'm not changing who I am to try to get a political office. In fact, I'm being very, very honest about who I am. I couldn't run from who I am anyway because it's splattered all over the internet the last 7 years. So that's who I am. I couldn't even hide from it if I wanted to be. But that and when I go to Washington, D.C., as you guys could probably tell, I'm excited. I'm passionate about the issues. I've been fighting for you guys for the last 7, 8 years, and I'm going to be the exact same way in Washington. I'm not going there to sit in a corner and be quiet, to be a cog in the system. I'm going to change the system. I'm going to change Congress to stand up to the leadership of both parties and saying, we're not going to do it this way anymore. No to corruption.
You're going to be a lot like Rand Paul, but in the House.
Yeah. So love Rand Paul. Of course, Ron Paul was a great inspiration of mine. And we need someone like Ron Paul back in the House of Representatives because we don't have anyone quite like that there. So we need to get someone like me, others, to be the next generation, to take the message of liberty and freedom and to take our government back. Because as I've said before, our constitutional republic's hanging by a thread. And, the globalists, they want to get Donald Trump out, take total control, and put out this flame of liberty that's kind of started. But this is our opportunity to take our government back, and it's what I'm going to do if I go to Washington.
Outstanding. Michael Snyder for Congress.com. Thank you, future Congressman Snyder, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for watching. If you want to support our mission, visit us at healthrangerstore.com for the world's largest selection of lab-verified superfood and nutritional products for healthy living. It's at healthrangerstore.com.